Reading through the Bible in 1 year. December 26th, 2nd Chronicles 31, Revelation 17, Zechariah 13, 2 through 9, and John chapter 16. Now, when all this was finished, all Israel who were present went down to the cities of Judah, broke the pillars in pieces, cut down the Asherim, and pulled down the high places and the altars throughout all Judah and Benjamin, as well as Ephraim and Manasseh, until they had destroyed them all. Then the sons of Israel returned to their cities, each to his possession. And Hezekiah appointed the divisions of the priests and the Levites by their divisions, each according to his service, both the priests and the Levites, for burnt offerings and for peace offerings, to minister and to give thanks and to praise in the gates of the camp of the Lord. He also appointed the king's portion of his goods for the burnt offerings, namely, for the morning and evening burnt offerings, and the burnt offerings for the Sabbaths and for the new moons and for the fixed festivals, as it was written in the law of the Lord. Again, the law of the Lord here typically meaning just the book of Deuteronomy. As soon as the order spread, the sons of Israel provided in abundance for the first fruits of grain, new wine, honey, oil, and of all the produce of the field. And they brought in abundantly the tithe of all. The sons of Israel and Judah, who lived in the cities of Judah, also brought in the tithe of oxen and sheep, and the tithe of sacred gifts, which were consecrated to the Lord their God, and placed them in heaps. And the 3rd month they began to make the heaps, and finished them by the 7th month. When Hezekiah and the rulers came and saw the heaps, they blessed the Lord and his people Israel. Then Hezekiah questioned the priests and Levites concerning the heaps. Azariah, the chief priest of the house of Zadok, said to him, "Well, since the contributions began to be brought into the house of the Lord, we have had enough to eat with plenty left over. For the Lord has blessed his people, and this great quantity is left over." Then Hezekiah commanded them to prepare rooms in the house of the Lord, and they prepared them. They faithfully brought in the contributions of the tithes with the consecrated things, and Conaniah the Levite was the officer in charge of them, and his brother Shimei was second. Jehiel, Azaziah, Nahath, Asahel, Jeremoth, Jozabad, Eliel, Ismachiah, Mahath, and Benaiah, were overseers under the authority of Conaniah, and Shimei, his brother, by the appointment of King Hezekiah, and Azariah was the chief officer of the house of God. Korah, the son of Imnah, the Levite, the keeper of the eastern gate, was over the freewill offerings of God, to apportion the contributions for the Lord and the most holy things. Under his authority were Eden, Miniamin, Jeshua, Shemaiah, Amariah, Shechaniah, and the cities of the priests. To distribute faithfully their portions to their brothers by divisions, whether great or small, without regard to their genealogical enrollment, to the males from 30 years old and upward, everyone who entered the house of the Lord for his daily obligations, for their work and their duties according to their divisions, as well as the priests who were enrolled genealogically, according to their fathers' households, and the Levites from 20 years old and upwards, by their duties and their divisions. The genealogical enrollment included all their children, all their little children, their wives, their sons, and their daughters, for the whole assembly, for they consecrated themselves faithfully in holiness. There we go. Also, for the sons of Aaron, the priests who were in the pasture lands of their cities, or in each and every city, there were men who were designated by name to distribute portions to every male among the priests, and to everyone genealogically enrolled among the Levites. Thus Hezekiah did throughout all Judah, and he did what was good, right, and true before the Lord his God. Every work which he began in the service of the house of God, in law and in commandment, seeking his God, he did with all his heart and prospered. All right, let's move on to Revelation chapter 17. And again, by way of reminder, this is a symbolic book. Do not read this book and your newspaper together at the same time and try to determine the exact times or timings of whatever is going to happen. God will do it in his timing, be it in a day, in a month, in a year, in 10 years, in 10,000 years. We don't know. God will do it in his time. All right, let's begin. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and spoke with me, saying, "Come here, and I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters." This is an international thing. "With whom the kings of the earth committed acts of immorality, and those who dwell on the earth were made drunk with the wine of her immorality. And he carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, full of blasphemous names, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was clothed in purple and scarlet," meaning she was some sort of a ruler or someone with a lot of authority, "and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a gold cup full of abominations and of the unclean things of her immorality. And on her forehead a name was written, a mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the witnesses of Jesus. When I saw her, I wondered greatly. And the angel said to me, 'Why do you wonder? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. And the beast that you saw was, and is not, and is about to come up out of the abyss and go to destruction. And those who dwell on the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world,'" those are the elect, before you personally, if you are part of the elect, before you had done anything at all, either good or bad, your name was written in this book of life. "Those whose names have not been written, well, they will wonder when they see the beast, that he was and is not and will come. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and they are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he will remain a little while. The beast which was and is not is himself also an 8th, and is one of the 7, and he goes to destruction. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but they receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour. These have one purpose, and they give their power and authority to the beast. These will wage war against the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings." There we go. "Because he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And those who are with him are the called and chosen and faithful," the elect. "And he said to me, the waters of where you saw the harlot sits are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And there we go. I'm going to reread verse 15. "And he said to me, the waters which you saw where the harlot sits are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which you saw in the beast, these will hate the harlot and make her desolate, naked, and will eat her flesh and burn her up with fire. For God has put it into their hearts to execute his purpose by having a common purpose, and by giving their kingdom to the beast until the words of God will be fulfilled. The woman whom you saw is the great city, which reigns over the kings of the earth. All right, let's move on to Zechariah 13. I know it says to start at verse 2. I'm going to roll back just a second here and read the whole thing. Beginning in verse 1. In that day, a fountain will be opened for the house of David and for the inhabitants of Jerusalem, for sin and for impurity. It will come about in that day, declares the Lord of hosts, that I will cut off the names of the idols from the land, and they will no longer be remembered. I will also remove the prophets and the unclean spirit from the land. If anyone still prophesies, then his father and mother who gave birth to him will say to him, You shall not live, for you have spoken falsely in the name of the Lord. And his father and mother who gave birth to him will pierce him through when he prophesies. Also, it will come about in that day that the prophets will be ashamed of his vision when he prophesies, and they will not put on a hairy robe in order to deceive, but he will say, I am not a prophet. I'm a tiller of the ground, for a man sold me as a slave in my youth. I was wounded in the house of my friends. Awake, O Lord. Rather, awake, O sword, against my shepherd. And awake, and against the man, my associate, declares the Lord of hosts. Strike the shepherd, that the sheep may be scattered, and I will turn my hand against the little ones. And it will come about in all the land, declares the Lord, that 2 parts in it will be cut off and perish, but the third will be left in it. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and refine them as silver is refined, and test them as gold is refined. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, They are my people. And they will say, The Lord is my God. Let's go on to John 16. These things I have spoken to you, that you may be kept from stumbling. This is Jesus again speaking to his disciples. Well, really, everybody who's there in the room with him, not just the apostles. But he's given them information ahead of time, telling them what is going to take place, so that when it happens, they won't be shocked by it. They're going to be shocked initially, but afterward, then they'll remember what it was that Jesus said. So when he said, don't worry about this because you knew it was coming, then you know that it's coming. In the same way that you or I, we may experience some sort of persecution, or we may hear of people in far-flung countries who are experiencing intense persecution, some even to the point of death or torture for the name of Christ. Well, Jesus told us that this was coming ahead of time. So we shouldn't look at this and go, wow, maybe they should stop being Christians. Well, no, because we know better than that. That's why he told them these things. And he goes into more detail. They will make you outcasts from the synagogue. Remember, that's basically being cut off from your entire community. If you aren't allowed in the synagogue, no one will spend any time with you. You'll be cut off from friends and family alike. In some cases, you'll lose your job for the sake of the gospel. But an hour is coming for everyone who kills you. Well, hold on. Wait a minute. We're going to die? Yeah. An hour is coming for everyone who kills you to think that he is offering service to God. Remember, this is what Paul, previously Saul, thought he was doing. He was applauding and dragging Christians, men, women, and children, away to be slaughtered. Why? Because he was doing it in service to God. That's why he thought he was right in doing so. These things they will do because they have not known the Father or me. This is the same thing he's been saying from the beginning. But these things I have spoken to you, so that when their hour comes, you may remember that I told you of them. These things I did not say to you at the beginning, because I was with you. You're saying, look, I'm going away from you now. And because I'm leaving you, I'm not going to be able to continue to tell you these things, but I'm telling you now so that you know about them. But now I am going to him who sent me. And none of you asks me, where are you going? But because I have said these things to you, sorrow has filled your heart. But I tell you the truth. It is to your advantage that I go away. For if I do not go away, the Helper will not come to you. But if I go, I will send him to you. And he, when he comes, will convict the world concerning sin and righteousness and judgment. Concerning sin, because they do not believe in me. Concerning righteousness, because I go to the Father and you no longer see me. And concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world has been judged. I have many more things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will guide you into all the truth. For he will not speak on his own initiative, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will disclose to you what is to come. He will glorify me, and he will take of mine and will disclose it to you. All things that the Father has are mine. Therefore I said that he takes of mine and will disclose it to you. A little while, and you will no longer see me, and again a little while, and you will see me. Some of his disciples then said to one another, well, what is this thing he is telling us? A little while, and you will not see me, and again a little while, and you will see me. And because I go to the Father. So they were saying, what is this a little while? We do not know what he is talking about. And Jesus knew that they wished to question him. So he said to them, are you deliberating together about this? That I said a little while and you will not see me, and again a little while and you will see me? Truly, truly, I say to you that you will weep and lament, but the world will rejoice. You will grieve, but your grief will be turned to joy. Whenever a woman is in labor, she is in pain, because her hour has come. But when she gives birth to the child, she no longer remembers the anguish that she went through because of the joy that a child has been born into the world. Therefore, you too have grief now, but I will see you again, and your heart will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy from you. In that day, you will not question me about anything. Truly, truly, I say to you, if you ask the Father for anything, there's that term again, in my name, he will give it to you. Until now, you have asked for nothing in my name. Ask and you will receive, so that your joy may be made full. These things I have spoken to you in figurative language, symbolically. An hour is coming when I will no longer speak to you in figurative language, but will tell you plainly of the Father. In that day, you will ask in my name, and I do not say to you that I will request of the Father on your behalf, for the Father himself loves you, because you have loved me and have believed that I came forth from the Father. I came forth from the Father and have come into the world, and am leaving the world again and going back to the Father. His disciples said, lo, now you are speaking plainly and not using a figure of speech. Now, we know that you know all things and have no need for anyone to question you. By this we believe that you came from God. Jesus answered them, do you now believe? Behold, an hour is coming and has already come for you to be scattered, each to his own home, and to leave me alone. And yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have... making sure we don't lose the spot. These things I have said to you, or I have spoken to you, so that you may have peace, so that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take courage, for I have overcome the world. And that is all of the notes from there. All right, God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold, the word of the Lord.